Tom Dempsey. Tom, thank you. Jamil Jaffer joins us this morning, founder and executive director of the National Security Institute at George Mason University, Scalia Law School, and former associate counsel to President George W. Bush. Jamil, always a pleasure. Thanks for being here. Does this take some heat off of Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, by removing Walsh from the National Security Advisor position?
Well, I think at some level, even though this move probably wasn't directly related to Signal, I do think it takes some of the pressure off of Hedgeseth. And my guess is that to the extent that he is removed eventually down the road, it'll probably be a year out if he continues to be a challenge for the president operationally. But I don't think the president's looking to fire, the Secretary of Defense over the Signalgate matter. I think he thinks the Secretary of Defense is loyal to him, is doing important stuff over the Department defense in terms of defense modernization. So I think the president's going to stick with Hegseth for at least a while, and we'll see down the road. If the challenge continues the Department of Defense, that may cause the president challenges, and that may cause a change, but it's probably a ways away now, I think, Barney.
The direction of Trump's national security team, how would you define the role of the national security advisor? To folks watching at home, what are the responsibilities of this job, the importance of this position?
Well, Marty, as a general matter, it's a very important job. It's essentially the quarterback putting everything together for the coach, the president, to make final decisions. So when it comes to national security issues, it's all the things. It's basically bringing everything together. I think the challenge that you've seen is in this White House, there's a couple of things going on. One, you've got sort of a Hunger Games mentality where everyone's out for everybody else. Everyone's sort of trying to knife each other in the back. You've got Laura Loomer coming in from the outside, providing advice, guidance, apparently direction to the president on who ought to be fired. He's taking that advice and executing on it. And then on top of that, you've got Stephen Miller, as we saw in that group chat, sort of being the one who comes in over the top, even over the vice president of the United States, and says, here's the president decided, here's where we're going. That would normally be the role in a more conciliatory way, typically, of the national security advisor. That's not what happened here. So in a lot of ways, it's actually maybe, even though it may not be a promotion in real terms, it probably is a promotion for Mike Waltz, who gets to get out of the chaos of the White House, go over to USU, and if he's confirmed, and ultimately run his own book over there the way that Nikki Haley did in the first Trump administration.
Looking at possible top contenders for this position, who do you think would be the best fit to take over this role?
Well, it's hard to know. I think that in practice, whoever has that role is going to have to contend with a very competitive situation in the White House. You've got Stephen Miller as Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. You've got people on the outside, Tulsi Gabbard and the like. You've got people who aren't even in the White House, Laura Loomer coming in. So whoever's going to take this job probably has a challenge. I think the most likely person to get the job and stay in the job is Steve Witkoff, who seems to have the confidence of the president to travel around the world. He's doing more than the National Security Advisor and more than the Secretary of State combined for the president. The question is, why has the president put him in that job already or in another senior cabinet position? That's an interesting question. We'll see how that plays out. He does appear to have the confidence the president know, and that may be the most important thing for the next person to take this job.
Yeah, he's been central to the talks happening between Ukraine and Russia so far. All right, Jamil, thanks so much on this Friday. Good to see you.
Thanks, Marnie.
All right, developing